So I'm making this video really quickly because I want to get this information out there. This is the very respected British surgeon Nizam Mamoudy, which I may have just pronounced incorrectly. He spent a month in Gaza between August and September in Nasser Hospital. And I want you to listen to his testimony, which very much speaks for itself.
What I think I found particularly disturbing was that a bomb would drop maybe on a crowded, tented area, and then the drones would come down and...
Please take your time. We're incredibly grateful that you're making the time to be here today, and I can only imagine just how it has impacted you and will continue to impact you. And I feel, because you can't unsee what you've seen, but being able to share that with us really helps us hold legislators particularly to account. So we do appreciate the time that you're making for us today. Thank you.
So the drones would come down and pick off civilians, children, and we had description after description. This is not, an occasional thing. This was day after day after day, operating on children who would say, I was lying on the ground after a bomb had dropped, and this quadcopter came down and hovered over me and shot me. And that's clearly a deliberate act, and it was a persistent act, persistent targeting of civilians day after day. We had 1 or 2 mass casualty incidents every day, and that meant 10 to 20 dead, 20 to 40 seriously injured. Now, a hospital like Guy's, where I used to work, Guy's and St Thomas's, might get 1 or 2 a year. We had 1 or 2 a day. And 60 to 70% of the people we treated were women and children.
I'm sorry to do this, draw you a little. You say children. I wonder if you could tell us sort of the ages of the children. And you say that they said that they were lying on the ground from a bomb shock. Do you believe them?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I mean, a 7-year-old's not going to make up a story.
We're talking little children,
yeah.
not late teens.
Well, from the majority of the children who were casualties were young children, but we had casualties in their teens, we had women in their 30s, and it was a very consistent story. And the story would be given as soon as they came into the emergency department. So I have absolutely no reason to doubt this. And the bullets that the drones fire are these small cuboid pellets. And I fished a number of those out of the abdomen of small children. I think the youngest I operated on was a 3-year-old who had a major injury to the artery in her neck. And we used the last shunt, which is a device you use to bypass the artery in the neck to keep supplying blood to the brain. We used the last one in the hospital because those kinds of things are just not available. She died about 3 or 4 days later from infection.
You believe it was deliberate targeting of civilians?
Absolutely no question in my mind, and it's been the experience of so many healthcare workers who've documented it time and time and time again. But my personal experience and those of my colleagues was clearly persistent, deliberate targeting of civilians. And I've worked in a number of conflict zones in different parts of the world. I was there at the time of the Rwandan genocide. I've never seen anything on this scale, ever, and that was also the view of all the experienced colleagues that I worked with. One of the surgeons in my team had been to Ukraine 5 times and said, this is 10 times worse.
That is a very respected surgeon outright telling us that he saw countless cases every single day of the Israelis bombing civilian tents, civilian housing, and then following up that bombing with what is aptly described as an attack by child killer drones, which are apparently a thing in the world that we live in, which would descend and just indiscriminately attempt to finish off anyone who survived. I mean, there's really not that much more to say about this, is there? Child killer drones. The Israelis are deploying child killer drones in Gaza to chase around and massacre children if they're lucky enough to survive the Israeli bomb that was intended for them. There is no way that you can call this not systemic, and not even not systemic. It's not even indiscriminate. It's obviously not any of that. It's intentional. It's intentional genocidal killing. They are killing every single person who they reasonably think they can get away with killing. It is that simple. And it's time to call a spade, and time to just outright boycott any creator, any commentator, any media that isn't doing so. No more tolerance for this shit. The world has to see this, and if you don't want to share with them my video, then there will be a link in the comments to a number of different news outlets all reporting on this. You can take a pick out of all of them. It's just the important thing is that this gets disseminated.